Bryce, I've been trapped. I'm trapped.
Oh.
I'm trapped.
Oh no!
I've been
Get him out! He's in the room.
Last week I got a new computer, and I've been trapped in like the new computer hell for this entire week. Where I'm like, I need a longer HDMI cable. I need like a KVM. Oh, that KVM doesn't work. I need an HDMI KVM and not a DVI. Well, hold on. I need to and I want to set up remote desktop, and that's not working. It's just, there's a whole group of people in this world. I am. There's a whole group of people in this world who are just like, no, PC gaming, it's super easy and super fun. And it's like, this is not easy or fun.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I don't know, you have different needs that you like with recording and doing streaming and stuff. A lot of people have it simpler than us.
That's true. But we may be trapped inside of PC gaming hell, but we're not trapped. Oh, this metaphor went off the rails. Welcome to the Rage Select Podcast, everyone. Here on Rage Select, I'm Jeff. I don't know. I'm trapped in my own brain. I don't know where to go.
Hi, I'm Bryce. I'm trapped in this podcast. Let me out. Hello.
Yeah, my latest. The thing is that I've been doing this thing where I got the computer and I set it up, and it's got all this fancy RGB, and it looks super cool. It's got a 3060 Ti with DLSS and ray tracing, and I was like, great. And so I loaded up a game to play for Rage Select, and the game crashed halfway through, and then I reloaded the game, and then it crashed like 3 minutes in. So like we ended up playing really crappy Steam games last week, and then like I recorded a whole bunch of that new Pokemon game yesterday with my friend Amanda, and everything looked like it went through, and then as soon as she left my house, I opened up the video files and there just wasn't any video in them. It was like, oh, all of this is gone. All of this work that you did, like 2 hours worth of recording, is just like it's gone. So yeah, my latest thing is I ordered a new hard drive, and I'm gonna reinstall on my secondary system, reinstall Windows. The one thing that I learned though, Bryce, is that okay, I don't know if there's a name for it, but I feel like there should be. There's like a phenomena where like you know how to use a computer, right? And you got your setup and you're using your computer, and then like time passes and like enhancements and leaps forward in the way that the world works happens, and so then you go to like reinstall your computer, and the whole point here is I was looking at like, what do I need to back up to reinstall, and it was like, oh, barely anything, because everything I've got is like in a Google Drive document, or like the amount of software that comes with Windows, or the fact that it's super easy to reinstall software. You're just like, oh, I need Opera as a browser, and it's like, boop, there you go, you got it. So I don't think it's going to be as nearly as onerous a task as before. It's like install Windows, install Adobe products, install Chrome. You kind of done at that point. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I always have weird production apps, little things that I do need to save, because they're so difficult to find, or I've paid for them, or I only paid for so many uses. Things like video repair apps, and I don't know, weird little software like that. They just like, there's this automation software that I used for marbles for like a day. I just needed it for a day because I just needed to do one project, and that software charges like, it's like you buy it in like 3-month licenses. So you buy it and then you have it for 3 months, and then you're supposed to buy it again if you need to use it again after. Like weird little things like that. And I don't even know how to. I am talking about it. I don't even know how to find it. I don't even know if I still have it installed. I might have imagined it.
Yeah,
but I need that. I can't lose that stuff.
Yeah, the one thing that I always have a problem with is the audio software that I use for Rage Select is old ass Sony SoundForge Pro 10. Like,
okay,
Like back when it was a Sony product, before whatever this Magix or whatever it is now, and it's always a hard time to find it. I've maybe had to use less than optimal solutions for modern problems, but this time around I found that like if you just type in SoundForge Pro 10 archive.org, there's like that archive.org website that has a bunch of abandonware, and they just have a link where you can download it. And I wanted to bring this up to say, like, this is old software and it may not be optimal for like modern systems, but my God, you should totally use this 10-year-old software before you use Audacity, because Audacity sucks.
Audacity is so bad.
It's so bad.
Don't use Audacity. It's the worst.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want this to turn into Linus Tech Tips or anything. So we've got a lot of news. I kind of feel like this is deja vu news. Like it's like, oh, we're going to talk about Activision Blizzard. We're going to talk about Battlefield 2042. We're going to talk about like worker stuff and NFTs. I feel like I've done this podcast a bunch of times before, but that's kind of just what came up. But before we get to that, Bryce, what have you been doing? What have you been playing? What have you been watching? You've been watching, playing, listening to, doing anything cool?
I've had two games that I've been in, maybe two or three. The first one or two is you I'm sure you've seen the phenomena of Wordle. Everyone loves Wordle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you love Wordle? Yep. Wordle's fantastic. You know what I found today? So there's all these like knockoff Wordles, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like there's Loodle and there's Letteral and like jokey ones and knockoffs. But this one is Dordle, Dordle.
Dordle, okay.
And you play two games of Wordle at the same time. And so, unlike Wordle, where you get one word and 6 guesses, this one gives you 2 words, but 7 guesses, but that you like do at the same time to both of them. It's neat. I think it's cool, and it's got a free play mode. And then there's like an app. There's a Wordle type app called Word Hero that I like, and it has other features, so it's not just a copycat.
I like the idea that generic Wordle has become too mundane for Bryce. Bryce is like, I need more words. I need like 8 words. I guess it in like 2 now. I'm just, boom, done.
Yeah. Well, and this app will do 4-letter words and up to 4, 5, 6, 7-letter words.
Oh.
So kind of cool. So it's not just a total ripoff. But the other thing I really, really have dug is Monster Rancher 2, the new DX release that they came out with maybe a couple months ago now. They reported the Monster Rancher 1 and 2, the original PlayStation games, for mobile, for Switch, for PC, and instead of inserting a disc, because nothing has a disc drive anymore,
right?
You just search the name of a song or an album, and it includes like modern. It's like uses a modern database, and it still does all the like. It generates a monster for you, and what I've really liked about that is going back to it and like looking up all the guides and all the stats and stuff, because the way that game works and the way that game expects you to play it is like completely different than how I ever played it as a kid, and what you think is like good, like ostensibly the point is to raise a monster and to make it fight and to win a lot of fights before it dies. But kind of what nobody maybe thinks about is you don't have to do all your fighting right away. You can just spend the first like 4 years of your monster's life training it. And then just jump through the ranks, like little weird things like that. And so it's, I don't know, playing it again as an adult makes me realize, oh, there's a lot of depth here. There's a lot of like very specific things you have to do to unlock certain things. It's deeper than I imagined it was.
So like when you played it when you were younger, you were just kind of like surface level playing it, and now you've got like game facts and the internet. It's like, here's how to min-max the Titan and beat the special secret boss, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because it is it's like the opposite of Pokemon, right? Pokemon is a narrative game, really. It's a you go in a circle and then you beat the Elite Four. Where Monster Hunter is is pretty open ended. To the point where like I was following a guide on how to find everything because so much stuff is just hidden. So much stuff in the game you just you have to get through different conditions to be able to unlock certain types of monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the conditions are really specific, right? Like, okay, you have to have like a rank B monster and it can't be higher or lower than rank B. And on this week, it has to have an evil disposition. And if the moon is in a half waning, and if God help you if it's a half waxing, then you can unlock the elf lady with 3 boobies. And there's like 80 of those. And they don't tell you that in the game. It doesn't pop up in the game. So
it's one
cool.
of those old school games where like you were just expected to play it and try dumb shit for your entire life in order to figure out how to unlock everything. Like
exactly. In fact, and one of the best quality of life things in these new ports is, and when I saw this, I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. So they've got, the resolution is a little nicer, and, you can listen to like a remastered soundtrack or the original soundtrack. But the key feature is the high speed mode, because that's how you fix an old game like this. Like this game is not that far away from like a clicker game or like a lemonade stand game, except that it's just kind of slow. The animations are kind of slow and there's some unskippable stuff. So this is a game where it makes sense and then feels natural to play at 2x speed. And like you get used to it really quickly, and then just that little bit of, running the emulation that fast, it makes it feel really snappy. It makes it feel really different and good in most cases. It's a really cool game.
It's been interesting to see kind of the rise of that, like just speed control as something to mitigate the design philosophy of older games that were designed just to kind of like be really slow and really long. And, like I love the kind of auto resolving battle stuff that you've seen, or even being able to turn off battles. And some of the like Persona 4 on the PC had an option where it was like, we'll just give you back all of your health and MP after every battle because you're an adult and you can decide what you want to do with your life, whether you want to play this the way it was intended or just like fucking go have fun, do whatever you want. It's actually funny that you mentioned monsters because I've been trying to finish Lost Judgment because I started playing it. But
This is the like private investigator game. There are monsters in Kamurocho. Or?
No. This is just a brief tangent. So I've been. But the thing is that I started to get weighed down because there's a whole like subsection of high school mini games where it's like you have to infiltrate these clubs, and then each club has like a little mini game that's associated with it. So there's like the dance club, and you got to do a little Dance Revolution thing, and you've got to do that in order to gain their trust, in order to progress in the story. But I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I think I'm just going to go back to the main story, because when I got my new PC, one of the things that I installed was Monster Hunter Rise on the PC, which came out like mid-January. And I played it on the Switch, and I played almost all of it because I really liked that game. But the thing is that the performance on the Switch, the more we go forward into modern console, PS5, Xbox Series X generation, like I started to get real mad at the Switch and its like loading time and maximum resolution and stuff like that. So it was nice to play Monster Hunter with this really tight, snappy 60 frames per second version. But as I was debating, like, should I just put down Lost Judgment and do this? Last night, we recorded the videos for Pokemon Legends, and like, man, I've never wanted to play a Pokemon game this much in my life, because it's like you're transported back in time to when the Pokemon, before people knew what they were, right? It's like one of the first things that I noticed was that people in the world of this, it's like back in the past of the Pokemon universe, and you've been isekai'd back by the fucking Pokemon god to teach them how to live in harmony with Pokemon. But like the people in this era, they're afraid of Pokemon because they go out into the wilderness and then a Charmander just burns them and they get hurt by these monsters. And I'm like, great. I've been wondering for years, like, why there's an electric rat and you treat it as a pet. My dog doesn't shoot poisonous darts. Like, and not just that, but like it's so cool because you run around kind of like Breath of the Wild in a third person action thing. But then if you want to get in a fight, it's like you just pick the monster you want from like a little context sensitive menu, throw them out there, and then like it just starts a battle over your third person action thing. Like it brings down black bars from the top and the bottom, and then it brings up the turn-based thing, but you can still like run around like you're in a third person game and move the camera and stuff. And so there's no friction between fighting and not fighting, which means that you could just like fight, and then as soon as the fight is over, it tells you what happened, and then the bars go away, and then you're just back into where it is. And it's amazing how much smoother it makes the whole kind of like exploring, and like for a lot of the Pokemon, you hold down the left trigger to aim and you just huck a Pokeball at them, and like they're just in there. There's no like turn-based thing, like you just sneak up on them. It's really doing something different, and it's kind of cool, and I like and it's kind of clever because your character is like a person from the modern world of the Pokemon who comes back to this time when nobody knows like how to capture, how to train. Like you're making the first Pokedex, and so it makes sense that like you come from this world where Pokemon are common, and you've gone back to this place where people are scared of Pokemon, they don't know what to do with them, and you're kind of like you bringing your knowledge from the world into this world. I'm like, all of this sounds great because Bryce, I have no interest in wandering from town to town and fighting for the badge, right? And here they're yeah, they're like, the god of Pokemon has sent you back. And there was like a part at the end of our recording where like these two characters were arguing over like which one's Pokemon-based religion was correct, and how like this one guy's like, this alpha Pokemon is fucking up our town, and the other one's like, but that's our god. You can't mess with that Pokemon because we believe that that's like the chosen of the Pokemon god. And I'm like, what is happening? This is crazy.
But also, aren't there Pokemon that are definitely gods? I mean, isn't that what Arceus is? Isn't it one of? I don't know. I
don't know.
That my question is, because I had heard the short pitch I had heard about it was Pokemon meets Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter. Which immediately turned me off because I don't like Monster Hunter. But like, does it feel like a brutal action RPG, or does it feel like a kind of difficult game, or?
No, not even a little bit. We've
okay.
Like the thing is that it's just it's a standard RPG. So like I think we were doing a Patreon video. And all of our Pokemon were like level 15, and we ran into an alpha that was level 40 and just one-shotted my dumb owl in a minute, and I just ran away and like got on with it. But at this point, no. I mean, having just been playing a bunch of Monster Hunter, like I associate Monster Hunter with like these long protracted battles with these really intricate bosses, but like you're just running around the world, and there's like Bidoofs and Pichus, and you just you either capture them or you throw out your guy, because the Pokedex has a series of things they want you to do for each Pokemon, and so it's like capture X number, battle X number, like see this attack from X number, and as you fill that out, it's like your Pokedex gets filled in and you rank up with this organization. I haven't seen anything like a really difficult boss fight, and even if there was a difficult boss fight, all the battling still happens via your turn-based attack. Bidoof used Rush, it was super effective, like that kind of thing. So it's more, if there is complicated boss fights, it's more of a like like a Persona boss fight or a Final Fantasy X boss fight, where it's you got to figure out the right combination of your team in order to do the right types of elemental attacks. It's not necessarily like a you have to have the flexibility, like the dexterity. It's still more of a mental game, I guess. But for me, I just like it because the friction between the two, between the battling and the not battling, is so smooth that, because I'm walking around in Pokemon Diamond, and it's like you're just walking down the path, and then some 8-year-old jumps out, and it's like, let's have a battle. And I'm like, no. And then they just throw their Pokemon, and you have to go into that whole thing. Whereas here, you just sideswipe by some Pokemon. I don't know. It's really cool. It's really interesting, and I don't feel like they did a good job explaining that in the marketing materials all that much before it came out. Though it's a really different game than it was before. So
yeah, it I'm still having a little bit of trouble wrapping my head around it, but that's because I haven't. I just there's not much to attract me there to begin with. But
tomorrow you can watch the dojo, or if you're listening to this podcast on Monday, we're going to put up some videos for it so everybody can see it. Which I was surprised because I normally with a game like this I buy it a physical copy and then I give it to my friend Amanda who records with me because she likes those games and I don't play them. But this one, it was like by the time we got done re-recording the 6 episodes that we did for this, I was like, man, I kind of want to keep playing this. And I'm like, no, you got to beat Lost Judgment. You got to beat Lost Judgment. You're 25 hours into Lost Judgment. Finish it. All right. Well, let's shift. Let's shift from the survival world of Pokemon to the survival world of Blizzard.
Ooh, okay.
So yeah,
last going a little on that one, but yeah, okay, we shifted.
Yeah, you just got to jam it up into Blizzard gear really hard, you know.
Just really push R9 and it'll work.
So okay, this week I wanted to start with some, I don't know, good or potentially interesting news because we've got a whole shit show of Blizzard, Activision. I just can't go a week without talking about these motherfuckers. But this week, Blizzard put up like a kind of a job listing / teaser that they want to make a survival game. It's an unannounced survival game. There's 2 kind of pieces of art that go with it. One of it is like some kind of people dressed like modern with a bike, and then in the background there's like a castle and stuff. The other one has a person with like kind of an outfit with like bones and feathers and stuff, like a more medieval looking type of thing. Very little information. So and then a lot of this came up mostly because they were looking for, it's a job listing, right? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artists, 2 designers, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 engineers, I guess, of different levels. So, Bryce, what do you think here? First impressions, Blizzard making an open world survival game. What are your thoughts? Does that interest you at all, or what's up?
The thing that I'm looking for, so it looks like I found the thing I was looking for. Blizzard. Okay. The thing that this made me look up was when the initial Cyberpunk 2077 teaser concept little skit video came out, right? The very like slow motion or stopped motion, dramatic, the woman in the street and
with the cyber spider arm stuff. Yeah.
So that was 2013, and Cyberpunk 2077 ended up coming out in what was that? Early 2020, late 2019.
Late 2020. Delayed until November of 2020. Yeah, it was late 2020. So
yeah, so about 7 years. So that's probably a little prolonged for a smaller company like CD Projekt Red compared to a Blizzard, but that's the kind of ramp up that you have to have, and the amount of like excitement you have to generate for a big game project like this, because it is such a long haul, because you need to keep personnel on, right? I'm sure it has been, seen around how many people leave these games mid-development or mid, the live services. So I understand why this job listing gets posted, even with all of the workplace stuff going on, even with all the Microsoft stuff happening, that a game that is this big and needs this amount of pre-announcement, it needs a lot of runway that will probably be longer than any of the other things that we've talked about getting resolved, possibly.
It's interesting because there was a quote in the Kotaku article that I sent over where the Blizzard developer, this is Craig Amai, said, "Once upon a time, this dream was a humble pitch deck on my desktop. Now it's a team full of caring and passionate people sharing a vision I couldn't be prouder to be a part of." So what's interesting too is I look at the career stuff that's here, like so. The thing is that I definitely take what you're talking about like it's kind of early to be excited about Blizzard, about anything, right? Because this could be, like you said, another 6 or 7 years in the making. But I also want to say that there's a second narrative that came to my mind, which was that this thing has been in like skunk works at Blizzard for a while now, and that like these positions between the art, the design, and the engineering team is like transitioning from the prototyping phase into like, okay, we've done the prototyping and we know now what we want to make, and so now we just need to shift into the actual like generating assets, locking down the systems, that sort of thing. Because I don't know, I feel like I've learned so much about game development over the last like 4 years. Like last week we had a video from one of the next BioWare guy that talked about how they would kind of faff about for a long time, and then like once everything kind of got finalized, they were going to this hellish crunch time to get it produced. But it's entirely possible because like Overwatch came out of the like a mode from like that other MMOs like Titan or something that
Titan
Blizzard wanted to make. Yeah. So I'm wondering if this is something that's been in development, or it's been in like the planning stages for a while, and then I'm wondering whether, because with Jeff Kaplan leaving from the Overwatch team, with some of the departures that they've had from the World of Warcraft team, and Diablo seems like it's stuck in development hell, along with just their whole upper management getting gutted by everything that's happened and the acquisition. If this is Blizzard basically like looking at their projects internally and saying like, how close is this survival game to coming out? Like, if I give you, what is this, like 14 people, like, can you get this out in a year or two? Because right now we got nothing. Like, we have nothing on deck. Diablo is going to have to take a lot of Diablo Immortal isn't out. Diablo 4 is probably in like, I've seen stuff from there that seems like it's definitely in development, but then it's a question of like whether all of the stuff that's happened there has slowed that development to a crawl or created gaps that need to be filled in before it can continue. Overwatch 2 just seems like a complete mess. Like,
yeah,
who knows when that's coming out? So I'm wondering if this is the sort of thing where it's like after the Microsoft acquisition and stuff, if they took a look at the projects and said like, okay, all this, instead of trying to fix all of this, let's take the one thing that we've got that people could get excited about, something new as opposed to this 8th iteration of what we've already doing, and let's push that to the top of the list and like start diverting resources into fast tracking that for release. I don't know. That's kind of what occurs to me.
And when I think something that supports what you're saying is the fact that what we're seeing today is a pretty. It's very strange that they announced this as unannounced survival game, right? Mm-hmm. Like survival games feels like such a charged genre that that you would choose to do that rather than show off the world that they're making and be a little more mysterious about what the type of game it is.
Right.
Because it's Blizzard, and you would think Blizzard, loves making these worlds and being narrative driven. I can see where the stance is. They've probably got the engine baked. They probably got a real strong idea of what they want to make, and now they need to build out the world, build out the lore, because there's a lot. I mean, a senior character artist is a senior character concept artist. Like, those are pretty high level and you would think foundational roles to the design and the world of this game. So that makes total sense to me, Jeff.
The other thing I also wonder is whether if they did need this level of staff for stuff. I mean, like, everybody knows that the gaming industry's favorite thing is looking at like job postings that get put up behind the scenes, or and then extrapolating from there. So it might have been a thing where it's like, we're going to need to get, like, especially because what you're talking about is a lead software engineer, senior software engineer. You talked about senior character artists. Like, these are going to cause Polygon to write news stories when people get brought into Blizzard for a project and they leave another place. So it might have also just been a kind of internal thought of like, well, if this stuff is going to leak anyway, why don't we just make it a public announcement, as opposed to having it be the sort of thing that gets picked up on and speculated, and then we've got to go on Twitter and we got to go back and forth with people. But I think the thing that's really exciting about this, though, is that Blizzard, at least in the past, like, I don't know anymore, but at least in the past, Blizzard has had a good track record with taking like an established genre of thing and making a version of it that is both more accessible and in a lot of ways more fun than some of the established kind of knockoff stuff that's out there. Like, you take Overwatch and it's like, I don't play online first-person shooters, but I played Overwatch for like a couple years. It was fun to just get on and do it. Or like, I don't play MMOs, but I did play WoW for at least a year when it came out. So the idea of taking this genre, which is kind of blowing up, right, between like Rust and some of the other stuff online, and making a version of it that's got, where it's made by these senior developers at a long-standing company that really know how to like get a great art style and like a compelling story, and then really just shave down all of the edges, all the barriers to entry with some of the other stuff, and then come out with something that looks great. I mean, if they still have that power. Like, that's Blizzard of old, and we haven't seen anything new from Blizzard since Overwatch. Like, it's been since Overwatch. So I don't know.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but I'm sure any reason that Blizzard can try to attract new people in their doors, I'm sure they're looking for ways to do it.
Absolutely. We also got last week an outline from top Blizzard personnel. I feel like this is from Mike Ibarra, kind of doing, I don't know, it's like, I feel like a lot of the focus between the Microsoft sale and a lot of there's been a lot of kind of talk about the Activision side, and this is probably something that should have been done previously, but this is Mike Ibarra putting out kind of like a roadmap of the things that they want to do moving forward. There's some bullet points here. Some of these I really like, and some of these you have to wonder whether it's, is this just like damage control? It's always hard to tell the difference between honest to God, like, oh, I'm sorry, this Kotaku article has this video of this guy shooting at somebody on the highway, and it's crazy and distracting. The difference between like doing cynical damage control and like, no, I honestly feel bad, I want to, we want to make a change. Whether you're saying all the right things because that's what you have to do to make sure that the money doesn't dry up, or whether you're saying all the right things because you're like, I want to do the right thing. So some of the bullet points here were kind of interesting. I really liked let's see. I liked this one that talked about how, like, there's a whole thing in the corporate world about corporate culture, and this one bullet point basically said that, like, a lot of times the culture inside of your organization ends up being like a second job that people have to do with like organizing team building events and stuff like that, and it ends up falling on the, stuff like that will end up being done by team leads that probably should be spending more time like managing their teams and not coordinating events or trying to worry about like what the internal culture is. So they're basically looking to establish like a culture person internally. What does it say? A culture leader who will help us maintain the best aspects of what we have today and change and evolve where needed to ensure everyone brings their best self to Blizzard. There's a lot of different stuff in here that's interesting. They tripled the size of their compliance and investigation teams. I mean, that only works if they actually take it seriously, but it seems like they're I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like Activision is in a weird place where there's like a bunch of people there that want to do right by this, and then there's kind of like the upper management that just wants it to go away, but that they're, in order to make it go away, they're having to do stuff like create, like, triple the size of the compliance and investigation department, because they've realized they can't get away with just saying like, we're a big family and everybody is welcome here at Blizzard. Like, they tried that and it didn't work, and so now they actually have to do stuff.
God, yeah, and I think, you know, what the leadership of Blizzard want to avoid, I'm sure, is any sort of court date, any sort of litigation or adjudication of things that may have happened, things that may have been said. Like, I'm sure they want to just put this down as quietly as they can.
Yeah.
But it is such a large incident, such a large I don't even know how to, a situation. It is such a to-do that some heads probably need to roll. There probably needs to be a more definite ending, rather than just kind of disappearing and wondering what happened to all of that mess.
Yeah. I mean, this like just about everything else is kind of just a case of like, we have to wait and see if this commitment seems genuine or if it's just lip service. Like, one of the things they talk about is one of these bullet points: we put in place an upward feedback program so that employees have confidence in evaluating management, and we will use this to measure the quality and effectiveness of our managers. I mean, that's good. Like, again, a lot of this stuff that now. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Because we're talking about corporate culture, and that is a culture that is still yet to evolve and is still finding ways to be best for everybody, for workers and for management, for people in power and for people who could be exploited by power. There is still that we're still figuring that out. You know, that is not a long history book on that one.
Yep. It's worth noting that the ABK Workers Alliance that's been working with this, that like two of the things that they really want is that are not included in this outline is pay transparency, which that's an uphill battle. I don't know about if you're ever going to get the people getting paid way too much to voluntarily tell you how much more they're getting paid than you. And the other one is independent audits, which again, I feel like I've been through the corporate world enough, and I haven't really recently. I mean, this is mostly just me talking about in the past, but the impression that I get here is that like any CEO of any corporation would rather eat his own hand than let an outside auditor come in and give them access to make sure that everything was like quote unquote fair, that they would do anything that they could to not let a third party outsider come in and evaluate a company based on any kind of anything, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially one as large and traditional as Activision Blizzard, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, you know, you're looking at two guys, you know, two roommates who are sharing a dorm room. Like, there's a lot to go through, and there's a lot, I'm sure, of embers and hot spots of things we know, things we don't know, things we have ideas of. And the last thing that you want, if you're the CEO of that company, is for an impartial third party to come in and say, yeah, that's fucked up. You know, that would certainly be how you would want to succeed, given the way business works.
Absolutely. Let's see. So let's shift from Blizzard to Activision. We got news from, I believe, Bloomberg this week that, so last week we got the news about the big acquisition with Microsoft, and the question is like, well, what does this mean for Call of Duty moving forward? And apparently we got confirmation that there are at least 3 Call of Duty releases that are currently guaranteed basically to be coming to PlayStation. This is part of the current agreement that Activision obviously has with Sony. So the 2022 and 2023 Call of Duty releases, and then there's probably going to be Warzone 2 at some point. 2022's game is going to be what? Infinity Ward, probably a sequel to Modern Warfare, which was really well received, and then 2023 is probably going to be maybe a sequel to Black Ops. Like Modern Warfare and Black Ops, I feel like were both really well received. Not Valorant. What the hell was the name of the one from last year? The Vanguard, Call of Duty Vanguard, the World War II one. I feel like that one just hasn't been all that well received. The real interesting thing here to me is the fact that there would potentially be a sequel to Warzone, which, you know, be like if Epic announced they were making Fortnite 2. Like,
yeah, isn't it supposed to be a platform? That seems strange. And isn't it a free to play game? So why don't you upgrade it in place? Weird questions on that. Maybe. But I mean, I have the exact same question for something called Overwatch 2. Why do you make Overwatch 2? Just keep adding to Overwatch. But who knows? Maybe someone who knows more about that knows more than I do. This is interesting, but it makes sense given the size of this deal compared to the Bethesda deal, which was about a tenth of the size. So I'm not surprised that this is a very serious question being asked. Is Call of Duty still like a gangbusters like franchise? I mean, it's obviously an annual series still, but do people still buy it?
Yes, last week's on the podcast, I looked over the NPD numbers for 2021, and Call of Duty Vanguard was the #1 best-selling game of 2021. And if that wasn't enough, Bryce, the #2 best-selling game of 2021 was Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War from 2020.
From the previous year, okay.
Yeah, the top 2 games of last year were both Call of Duty. So, yeah. So there's more like the. You know, this is not Bethesda who puts out a Fallout game every 5 or 6 years. This is big money. So I don't know. This doesn't interest me on a personal level, but it would make sense, and I think everybody involved wants to sell as many of these things as they can. Yeah, I've kind of got. I mean, I talked about this when they acquired Bethesda, but I'm interested to get your take on this because it's like if Microsoft makes like. This is the weirdest sentence in the world, but if Microsoft decides that Call of Duty should be an Xbox exclusive, or at least Xbox console exclusive, like that would drive the sale of a great many Xbox units, right? But if they leave it on both platforms, then they still get to cash the paycheck from all the units sold on the the PlayStation platform. So, like, which way do you think that they're leaning with this? I kind of tend to think that they're going to leave it platform neutral because, like, locking Call of Duty to a specific platform, that's a sea change in gaming right there. Like, it might generate so much bad will from the PlayStation community that it could actually cause a problem moving forward. But
And you know, I don't know any specific numbers to say this, but I could imagine a world where if Call of Duty, if the amount of people who were able to buy Call of Duty shrank considerably, then I think there would be enough money tied up in marketing, promotions, all of the deals that they, you know, between food and drinks, merchandise, like. You would see a reduction in all of those secondary spends. That would totally be that. I think would outweigh however much you would make more by having consoles. Like Call of Duty, it can make money not just by games either, and having that have an incredibly large fan base is a part of it.
Yeah. let's see. In other PlayStation news or PlayStation Call of Duty news, this is the continuing saga of the is Sony about to do some kind of backwards compatible thing on the current consoles? Have they figured out how to make PS3, PS2 backwards compatibility work? And this was a thing that came up this weekend because the trophies on the PlayStation 4 showed up as PS3 games. So suddenly the trophy list, there were a bunch of games that shifted from having the PS4 badge to having a PS3 badge on some people's PS5 list. And then there was also another one that was, what was it? It was the other one was it was a misunderstanding. It was Sony tweeted out 1.2.3 and people were like, oh, that means PlayStation 1, 2, and 3, and it turns out it was a K-pop tie-in to somebody whose song is 1, 2, 3, and they're really going off the conspiracy rails here. But I still think that Sony's best defense to this platform exclusivity would be if they could open up their back catalog all the way back to the PS1, especially if they could do some of the hardware enhancement stuff that the Xbox does. That would really give them a leg up. If you could just play any PS2 game on a PS5 and it looked as good, it looked not as good. If it looked very good and it did some of the upsampling 4K stuff like the 360 games do, I think that would put them back in the running, because the PS2 is a hell of a library and it's really locked down right now unless you have either a PS2 or a backwards compatible PS3. So
I don't know. I've been down this road we've been down this road many times.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this looks like bugs. A lot of this looks like bugs.
Well, what do you think about last week? We had the thing where game retailers pulled all the PS Now subscription cards from their stores.
They'll stop calling it PlayStation Now. PlayStation Now is kind of proven not to be a very good brand. It is pretty much just as good. It is fundamentally the same thing as Game Pass. It is access to a bunch of games, and it's got the xCloud Gaikai streaming side to it. And yet it doesn't do well. Why doesn't it do well? Because it's not a great brand and they don't promote it very well. Yeah. So, that there were rumors that they were going to fold that into PlayStation Plus or make that a tier of PlayStation Plus, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And to do that, we know that these consoles and the software on them is not finished. I would bet that we're going to see more integration of whatever the PlayStation Now library is, which means making sure PlayStation 3 trophies show up, looking at the versions of PlayStation 2 games that they've done emulation for that show up in, say, PlayStation 2, and
right.
Making sure that there's a system in there for those games as well. So, I bet we see more digital versions of these older games, but I don't
think we're heading for full backwards compatibility territory?
No, I think Sony's going to be Sony and not Microsoft. And I think that's, I think even progress on Sony style is progress, but it's not the same speed and cadence of Microsoft's efforts with this stuff.
Right on. Let's see. We're back to Blizzard. I don't know why I put that in there. There was some kind of transition in my brain that I forgot about. Okay. That's right. Just shoving it out into reverse. It's fine. It's going to be fine. Let's see. So last week, 34 QA testers at Raven Software decided to unionize, right? This has kind of been coming and they decided to do this. And a lot of this starts to get mired down into weird kind of technical stuff that I'm not incredibly familiar with. But basically, so the decision was made for 34 QA testers to unionize. That's actually a very small number of the people who work at Raven, but fine. They've been talking with the CWA, the Communication Workers of America, kind of for I think advice on how to start a union. There's a whole thing about creating a union that is not just we're a union now. It's not like declaring bankruptcy on The Office. Like, you have to go through a whole thing. So yeah, this whole saga is weird. They started with this, and then the next step was essentially to ask Activision to recognize their union. And as near as I could tell from these articles that I've read, if they don't recognize the union, then you have to take your case to the National Union Labor Organization.
Yeah, I think you got to send it to the National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB.
Right. And then there's a vote. There's some procedural stuff that's done in there about whether you are like officially recognized as a union. It all seems like there's a lot of like procedural rigmarole that I was not aware of. I kind of thought it was like declaring bankruptcy, where you're just like, wow, we're forming a loose collective and we're gonna give everybody cards and take some dues. But apparently there's like a formalized thing
to get protection, because there are protections involved with union work, and you have to make sure you dot your I's and your P's and your Q's to get some of those protections.
Yeah. So they asked Activision to essentially recognize them, and then Activision said, no, we will not recognize you. And then they put out a statement basically saying that, like, if this group files a petition with the National Labor Relations Board to create a union, that Activision will require that basically all of Raven Software has to vote on it because they're part of that organization, that like the entirety of Raven Software, not just the 34 members, basically have to vote yay or nay on this, which gives them a much better chance to essentially to put the kibosh on it, right? And then not just that, but then there was another story where I think it's part of this story. There's another part of this story where, like, and this is a really weird thing, where so right around this time they announced that they were going to take the QA team, and I worked QA once in my life, or a couple times in my life, but like when I worked for QA for a game company, it was like, here's all the nice people with the views and the windows over here, and then here's the fucking dungeon where the shitty QA people that everybody hates has to work, and it's like dark and dingy and full of like Cheeto dust, and the developers are like, get out of here, scum. Like, if you go to them and try to get be like, hey, do you have an update on that bug that I submitted? And they're just like, no, get the fuck out of my office. So Activision announced that they're going to be essentially taking the QA department and then like separating it into individual members that are then assigned to specific groups. So like the art department will have like a dedicated QA person, or like server will have a dedicated QA person to that. So instead of having QA be its own separated subgroup, that the QA is then embedded in each department individually. Now, at first, I read this and it sounded like a nefarious tactic to essentially break QA apart to make sure that they couldn't band together for this type of thing. Apparently, this is a pretty common practice, that it happens in other companies as well, because they've realized that it's not as efficient to just have a bunch of people siloed off over here. They're treated like second-class citizens, that like if you have to work with the same team every day, there's more camaraderie as opposed to just being the person who sends the email, but the fact that it happened right now is a little sussy.
Yeah.
So and that, I think, is so far kind of the story of what's going on here. I think my analysis on this is kind of the same that it's always been, is no company wants unions. Like, Activision keeps putting out these statements saying, like, it's always better when workers can directly negotiate with management. Everybody wins. And I don't know about you, Bryce, but in my experience, that has not been the case.
No, not generally, no. Yeah, I mean, look, it's, embedded QA sounds great for everybody. I bet if they didn't do embedded QA, I wonder if a collective bargaining agreement would have pushed for that. I don't know. It's interesting, but you know, it's kind of what you said, Jeff. It looks nefarious and it sounds nefarious, but I think at the end of the day, it's probably a good thing for the people who work there to be in a paradigm like this, where they're embedded as a part of these departments. But I'm not a master corporate tactician. I don't know. Maybe you do need to have some dedication. I don't know. But this one is.
What I'll be most interested in is if this continues apace to see what the NLRB vote looks like if Raven does have to do the whole thing, because I feel like we are in a moment. I mean, broadly in America in the job market, and very specifically with this Activision Blizzard stuff, where people are kind of sick of it. And like, I wouldn't be surprised if even if everybody at Raven didn't want to join a specific union, if you couldn't at least whip up enough support to vote for in support of a QA specific union. Because I mean, I don't like a lot of this gets into the way that I feel about the world and broader social implications and stuff. But like, from my perspective, I've been working since the 90s, and even in the 90s, like it was great with all the tech stuff that was overpaying and stuff. But I'm 40 years old. I've been working for maybe, 25 of those years. And like, to me, it just seems like corporate culture has been more and more and more exploitative every year over year, crash over crash, shift over shift. It's always been asking for more, giving out less, generally abusing workers between, in financial ways and time ways and psychological ways and all these different ways. And that I feel like my perspective on this whole thing is that we've gotten to this breaking point where people are like, okay, it's time for a labor revolution. And management is like, no, wait, hold on. I'll give you an extra 20%. No, it'll be fine. Shut up. And it's like, well, that would have worked like 10 years ago. But the fact that you've been treating people like garbage for so long, especially with the catalyst of the pandemic, to me, I wouldn't be surprised if Activision's idea to make all of Raven vote ended up with all of Raven voting to allow the union to form. So
yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to. I mean, we can go off for another 8 hours about this, but it's interesting more in developments.
Yep. Let's see. We also found out this is kind of like right around the time of the Microsoft Blizzard acquisition, where apparently Bobby Kotick had an all-hands meeting at Activision Blizzard. It was like 15 minutes long. It was like a fireside chat. It was over Zoom. And they just didn't answer. Like, apparently they were taking questions from the audience that were filtered through, the content manager or whatever that was there. And they didn't really address anything. It was all just kind of like surface lip service. The one thing about this that's kind of interesting is, where was the quote that he said? Not that one, but it was the quote where he said that Microsoft would be trying to, quote, retain as many of our people as possible, which I think is really interesting because, as I've understood it, most of the previous acquisitions by Microsoft have kept the entire corporate structure in place to let these, Obsidian and Bethesda and Double Fine have left that structure in place to allow them to work relatively autonomously, because last week we were talking about how, like, we think they learned their lesson when they meddled with Rare and then kind of fucked Rare up to the point where it's not the same company that it used to be. So I'm a little concerned about that, because the idea of, I often wonder though if part of this is maybe that, the previous companies that they bought all had pretty stable groups and management and stuff like this, and that it might be that because Activision Blizzard is so unstable, that if they get it, they could complete the acquisition, it's kind of a mess, that they're just going to go, okay, we're going to step in and sort all this out. You're the new director of this department, we're bringing in this person to direct this department, and once all those slots are filled and we feel like it's stable, then we're just going to let you go do your work. But that you seem like you're in a bind right now, we're going to come in and straighten this out. I wonder if that's what's meant by this, or if it's something more nefarious. But
I think also because of the scale of the deal and the scale of a company of Activision Blizzard, there are how would I put it? Because this isn't the first time Microsoft has bought not just developers but also publishers. This is not their first time doing that and incorporating those services in the games industry. Activision Blizzard is so big and there's so much money involved that I have to imagine that bringing all of those bodies into Microsoft might mean that people who were suddenly at the very top of a very large mountain are now halfway down the org chart because they're in Xbox, or because they're in games, or because they are a subsidiary of Xbox, or maybe they are someone who operates at such an upper level of business that they may not be best suited in Activision Blizzard. Maybe they need to be in Xbox games with Phil. Maybe they need to be in Microsoft leadership. I'm sure there could be executive moves there as well. So I think that's what that statement says is our stack is so big and being pushed into Microsoft that we want to keep everyone top to bottom, keep as many people around as there is space for, because that is a big company and a lot of bodies to bring in when you've probably already got marketing, publisher people, a lot of redundancy.
Right. I guess, the difference between a company where their primary focus is making the game and then passing that game off, as opposed to Activision, which is a media juggernaut that probably has internal engineers to deal with deployment that are redundant based on the fact that you're working directly for the company that does the deployment. And I see what you're saying there. All right, well, we're running a little bit behind. I'm gonna cut a few things here. And we're gonna finish up with Ubisoft, and then we're gonna come back with Ubisoft, because I'll never pass up an opportunity to say bad things about Ubisoft. Actually, this isn't a bad thing. Apparently, there was a workplace malpractice investigation in Ubisoft Singapore, the doomed, cursed studio that is making Sea of Thieves for the last 8 years, and I feel like will never be able to stop, because if they stop, they have to pay back the tax incentives that Singapore gave them to open a studio there.
Skull and Bones, not Sea of Thieves.
Yes.
Sea of Thieves. I was like, what the fuck? So Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones. Yeah. Apparently, there was an investigation into whether there was workplace discrimination and misconduct and sexual harassment and that kind of stuff. And this is from the Tripartite Alliance for Fair and Progressive Employment Practices, which I guess is the Singapore version of that California Fair Department of Housing and whatever, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, they came back and they basically said that they feel like they didn't see, they didn't find anything, and a lot of this also says that that there's a structured system in place to deal with reports, and that the salary structure doesn't seem like it's weighted for by gender or anything like that. A lot of this is very dry, to the point where if there was a question for this, I almost wonder. The thing is, I don't know anything about Singapore, and I don't know anything about whether this department. I can make some judgments about what the California Fair Employment organization is like, whereas I have absolutely no idea whether this TAFEP just walked in, checked all the boxes to say yes, all the things should exist, and then walked out and said nothing to see here, or whether this was a deeper investigation. I don't know. It's just, again, I raise an eyebrow mostly because Ubisoft has had a lot of problems, and so having a foreign labor organization come back and say everything seems fine here. I'm like, but is it? Because also the studio has just been a disaster for years, and the game that they're making is nowhere. And like, anyway, I don't know. I may be being a little bit too harsh on them, but I don't know. Ubisoft probably deserves a little bit of harshness these days.
Yeah, gosh, I wish this one is a little over my head, but an interesting development, and I would love to know more about what the true story is here.
Yeah. Yep. And last, before we take a break, Ubisoft is shutting down Hyperscape. Everybody remember Hyperscape? No?
Hyperscape came out?
Yeah, came out in 2019, and 2020, and so it went through 2021. It came out in October. Oh wait, the second season. No, it came out at some point in 2020. This was Ubisoft's
July 2020. Okay.
There you go. This was Ubisoft's Battle Royale contender, because Ubisoft hasn't had an original fucking idea in forever, and all they can do is ape whatever other things the market does. So they made this Battle Royale thing where it was inside a big cyber city, and everybody got these programs that would level them up, and you could turn into a ball, and it was really weird. Jason and I played it. It seemed like your standard Ubisoft fare these days, which is to say a milquetoast ripoff with a Ubisoft skin painted on top of it. Apparently it didn't do very well because it's getting shut down on April 28th. So take what you will from that. The longer that this timeline continues, Bryce, the more I'm just like, Ubisoft is the worst. Like, they just... I don't know. I tried playing that Rainbow Six Extraction game. It was garbage. Far Cry 6 was terrible. Like, Hyperscape is awful. It's
very funny. Is I had like literally the exact opposite conversation with Jason Murphy the other
Really?
day. I think he loves the Rainbow Six, and I think he loved Far Cry 6. But I think this is the Ubisoft system, right? Is find something that works, throw as much spaghetti as the wall, see what sticks, and don't fall in love with anybody too soon. So whether it failed because of marketing or whether they didn't market it because they knew it was so, who knows? But hopefully that team can move on relatively quick.
Yep. And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and take a break. We've been this for about an hour. We still have a mountain. We have a mountain of news, but we're gonna put it into. We're gonna crunch that gear shift back in to third gear, and then we're gonna just slam on the gas, and we're gonna go all the way to the end. Yeah, we'll see you in just a minute. All right, let's put it into seventh gear. Let's get over here. Crunch. Yeah, we were talking about Ubisoft when we left. We're back to talking about Ubisoft, but we're also talking about the thing that everybody is definitely not sick of hearing about, and that is NFTs. So recently, Ubisoft put NFTs into Ghost Recon and all this stuff. There was an interview where with an Australian site Finder, where we basically got kind of a whole bunch of quotes about how. Well, here, let me just read some of them. Ubisoft became the first big-name developer to publicly enter the NFT space. The launch of Ubisoft Digits and NFT and the Quartz platform did not go down well. Gamer feedback was negative to the point of being aggressive, as gamers are wont to do. The big names in games press were also tepid in their analysis. One way or another, this was a landmark moment in gaming, but the media clearly didn't want to gain the ire of their readers. I think gamers don't get what a digital digital secondary market can bring them. For now, because of the current situation and context of NFTs, gamers really believe it's first destroying the planet and second just a tool for speculation. But we at Ubisoft are seeing first is the end game. The end game is about giving players the opportunity to resell their items once they're finished with them or they're finished playing the game itself. So it's really for them. It's really beneficial, but they don't get it for now. Also, this is part of a paradigm shift in gaming. Moving from one economic system to another is not easy to handle. There is a lot of habits that you need to go against and a lot of ingrained mindset you have to shift. It takes time. We know that. So Bryce, the reason that we all hate NFTs, it's we're just too short-sighted, you know? We're just gamers stuck in our ways and we don't want to change for the future because, you know, really what you need is the ability to take a helmet with a number on it that you got from a game that's like 3 years old and then sell it to somebody in 10 years for... Why would they buy it? Why would anybody buy your helmet with the number 37 on it 10 years from now when I'm sure there's going to be another Ghost Recon game? Anyway, I don't know. I watched that... that Dan Olsen video about NFTs and crypto like 5 times in the last week. So,
you know why all these companies are doing this? It's not that they believe in cryptocurrency. It's not really about blockchain. To me, in IMO, this is not really about any of that. This is an acknowledgement that we are moving towards more digital purchasing of games, and that there are that much like music went from, okay, cool, it's easy to buy music digitally to now very few people buy music. They buy access to a subscription streaming platform similar to movies and TV, right? You're not buying for cable or buying, you know, episodes of 30 Rock on iTunes. You just get Hulu or Netflix or whatever.
Right.
And so if you're an Ubisoft, let's say you're Ubisoft, right? Because Ubisoft has a version of Game Pass. Well, I don't even know what the name of the Ubisoft one is, but they have their own like library subscription service. And so they need a way to keep upselling you. They need something to replace what is lost in physical sales, which are here. Do you love this game that's not out so much that you want to spend $1,000 on it? Here's, you know, it comes with a mini Master Chief helmet. It comes with a little mech. It comes with a little figurine, whatever. These these collector's editions. How do you do that when games are going very digital? And I think that is really all. I think that's the only like ballpark that the fact that they frame it in this way of like, once you're done with your items, you can resell them. Why are people buying the guns for the gun game that you have? And how is it that they can lose their usefulness after some amount of time? And who is like what? So we are missing the forest for the trees quite a bit here.
So for me, I think that what has happened here, in fact, I am 100% sure part of this is just from the stuff that I've seen out now, that after watching that big old video, I have a better idea of like exactly what the crypto and blockchain and like the history of it and the way that NFTs work and stuff like this. But like, I have the feeling that there are a great number of wealthy people that have a big stake in Bitcoin and blockchain tech and NFTs and the tokens and stuff, and they need people to get into this market. And so, because there is absolutely, I've said this before and I will say it again, everything that Ubisoft is doing here could have been handled by not doing it on the blockchain. They could have handled the sale of, Diablo 3 had a marketplace years ago where you could sell your stuff to other people. Blizzard took a chunk of the cash between. What I think is happening here is that there are NFT evangelists with a lot of resources and money that have a dedicated stake in getting more people into the cryptocurrency space, because the thing is that you can't take money out of crypto unless you have somebody willing to put real human dollars into it. Right. You can't just convert your mined Bitcoin into real dollars unless there is a person willing to give you the dollars to get that coin to get out of the system, right? So like,
right.
I see all these things as essentially just like these glorified scams to you, like they're just handing you a thing, but the thing they're handing you requires that you start engaging with this system, which brings a so now you have an NFT. You've been given a free NFT, right? Well, let's say you want to sell it, you want to get out of the block. Well, now you're involved in that financial process, and there's nothing about NFTs or the blockchain that I can see, or crypto as a currency, that makes it in any way, shape, or form from a 20,000 feet macro level different than just like, we're going to set up a marketplace, we're going to allow our users, we're going to hook like specific items to a user account, and then we're going to allow that user to sell. That shit's been around forever. You could do that in WoW. Like, it's not a problem.
It is. I mean, some of the things that I hear about possible uses for, like, look, man, you want to tell me that there is use in these technologies? I'm happy to hear it. Everything that I hear ends up, like you said, either things that are completely ready to go now. You could do it without needing a blockchain or cryptocurrencies,
right?
Or or it's like schoolyard fantasy,
right?
Like I think that there is a certain amount of fantasy in the idea of a blockchain auxiliary ecosystem to the game sale market. Someone I was talking to on Twitter the other day said like, oh, but NFTs make cross-platform so easy, and I was flabbergasted. This is the video game industry we're talking about. Like, we cross-platform. Not only is it possible, nobody wants to do it.
Yep.
They won't. We know that they can, and they don't want to. Mm-hmm. And it's not that they don't have the means, and there's nothing that the players can do. It's not, just because you have this open format, you can do smart contracts, whatever. That doesn't just mean that I can buy a copy of Forza Horizon 5 on Steam and get a code and make it work on my PlayStation. That doesn't. You can't. There's no amount of like Silicon Valley innovation that's going to make that happen.
Or it's really. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not technology.
Yeah, and I was gonna say it's always, to me, when I look at these things, what it's come down to is like you're not advocating for being able to process digital goods across platforms. That's just like the carrot that you're using to get people into this marketplace, because you have to get them into the marketplace. If people stop investing in the marketplace, it becomes stagnant. Like if everybody just stopped, except for the big crypto enthusiasts, there would be no way for them to get their money out of crypto space, because you have to have somebody willing to get in order to get out. Like, you can't just invent currency from nothing and then go to an ATM and withdraw it. Like, there has to be that money. There's a finite amount of money.
It's like the stock market. Like, when you sell it, you actually do have to sell it to somebody.
Right. So if nobody's willing to buy it, then you can't get the money out. And so, all of these things, because the other thing, Atari is signed up. And the thing is that all of these, like in the Ubisoft story, I didn't talk about it, but like Ubisoft hired a specific, like a crypto person to head their Quartz program. And like in here, Atari is doing this. It's not just an NFT, it's a loot box NFT where you buy this and it opens and you get and this is being run by this company, Republic Realm. So it's like a third-party company that I'm sure has a big stake in blockchain and crypto, that is trying to essentially get people in it. The thing about this one that's amazing is first off the fact that it's a loot box. So you're getting into this space and you're not even guaranteed to get something good. But I like. This is from the Republic Realm CEO, Janine Yorio, in a press release. And to me, this just shows exactly what we're dealing with. It says, by the way, they're calling these GFTs instead of NFTs because they're like gift boxes. GFTs are like Hallmark cards for the next generation. Let's see. Except rather than being small, predictable tokens of appreciation, GFTs are governed by loot tables with predetermined random rates. Because, oh wait, this is part of the article.
Like yeah.
Like,
You're right, Janine. It would feel exactly like when I've gotten lottery cards for birthday gifts. And like, yeah, I could have been a Mega Millions winner, or like I could have just scratched off a bunch of stuff and had some shit all over my lap. Like
Yep.
I don't want to put too fine of a point on it, because like I think I think denouncing something like this, like, you takes a certain amount of verbosity, and you have to explain. I don't want it to just be like it's stupid, it's stupid, it's stupid. Like there are very good reasons why these are very bad ways to spend your money. Like,
well, also, I mean,
it's being touted as like this big financial thing, and it's like they're at best collectibles. They're digital collectibles, and that is not good, like great financial tools.
It also, I feel like, goes back to the previous story where it's like the whole point of this is to give somebody something that then, in order for them to engage with it, they have to buy into this system. There's no way to just like give somebody this thing and then it's a thing. They have to essentially, now they've got they've got a blockchain wallet that's registered. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the thing is that this gets you into that system, and once you're into that system, there's a better chance that you're going to put your money in, which to me is the end result of all of this. I mean, it's not on the list of stories, but like, somebody gave Jimmy Fallon and Paris Hilton those dumb apes that they showed off on TV like it was a thing. Did you see that? And it's like,
yeah,
they're out there pretending that like this is a cool thing, but like all you have to do with your eyeballs is look at the pictures that are there and go, this is ugly and stupid. And but they're trying, there's so much money in this market that they're trying to jam it into every last corner of everything. And I am not here for it. I don't know. Yeah. Let's see. And then we also got this is from the Game Developers Conference, put out kind of an industry survey polling creators around the world with what's going on. This is a thing that they do every year. And they put out kind of some of the questions on this year's survey were, what is your studio's interest in cryptocurrency? What is your studio's interest in non-fungible tokens? And on both of these, it's like 70% or higher, just not interested whatsoever. It's funny because, Bryce, I think the first time that I talked about NFTs was you and I on this podcast talking about it when the Castle Doctrine guy was like making those NFTs, and I was like got a real kind of surface level idea of what was going on there. And it's been interesting to watch as I go over the news every week, just more and more and more and more of this becoming a thing where it's like, it seems like a thing that nobody was interested in and should have just fucking died out, but they just keep trying to jam it into more and more places. And I'm glad that, this is also the Game Developers Conference, though, so I'm sure that this is a bunch of developers, and I get the feeling that a lot of these programs are being overseen by, like, the upper tier corporate parts of these companies that see this as just, like, a way to make a lot of money, regardless of what it does to the product. Like, regardless of how much it ruins the product that you're putting out, they just want to make as much money as humanly possible. So,
I mean, just think about it this way, right? This will be the last thing I say on it, because I don't want people to lose good money chasing bad money. Mm-hmm. And so think about it this way. This is something that I tried to express to somebody the other day, is especially when it comes to games. If you're listening to this, you're probably some amount of like game and tech literate, right? Think about, before you spend money on any of these products, why is it now that these things are showing up? And what has changed such that this is possible? Because, we kind of joked a little bit, but like, whether we're talking about cross-platform features, any amount of digital ownership, what have you, like, ask yourself why we couldn't have been able to do that before. None of this is like groundbreaking technology in the way, in the feature set that it's being described as. I mean, if there is an amazing idea for, a big public ledger like a blockchain, or a centralized, decentralized currency or asset. I would love to see it, and I don't see them. I just see things that we can do. This is kind of the Clubhouse thing, right? Like Clubhouse, you could do technology, and many apps ended up making Clubhouse knockoffs, um, and that is all kind of petered out, and it's kind of its own cloistered little thing, because it's not being driven by ideas. We've already been able to do those ideas when it comes to some of these crypto integrations into games. These have all been well and possible for a very long time now. And the reason that they're happening now is because these companies can get money from you for doing this thing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that is what is happening. And if you like playing Ubisoft games, give them money to play their games. If you like shooting the guns in the Ubisoft games, buy a gun, whatever. But just like be careful about where you're interacting with this stuff, because it is rife with fraud and scams.
Yep.
It's partly buyer beware, but like, dog, beware. It's treacherous out there. There was a thing I saw. There was a screenshot that I saw of, like, if you go on Twitter and say that you're having a problem with OpenSea, or if you have a problem with something with one of like the crypto websites, you'll get people saying, the support will help you super quick, and they'll give you an incorrect email address. Like, it'll be sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's like a Gmail, but you'd see there's a screen cap, and you can see it's like 4 different email addresses, because there's so many scams, and there's not so much stability. So please be careful out there, dear listener.
Yeah, I mean, again, not to just harp on the Dan Olson video, but the thing that I got after watching that, one of the biggest things I got after that, right, is like the whole point of the blockchain is it's regulated by the tech of the blockchain, of the this kind of historic the ledger, essentially, right? It's like this. It's built to be this unregulated thing that is primarily governed by the rules of the tech that runs it. So the thing is that if you get ripped off, there's no one to appeal to, right? Like, there's no, like, if somebody steals the money out of your wallet, there's no, you can't go to the police, because they don't have any jurisdiction over this. It's completely unregulated. So if somebody tricks you and you lose assets, there is no way to get them back. There is no authority to appeal to. And the same way that we've seen a lot of, like, people minting NFTs of other people's art, and it's just like there's no governing organization to say, no, you can't do that, or you have to verify that you are the creator, and you just take whatever you want. So yeah, that is probably the best advice, is whether you agree or you don't, be very, very careful, because the whole thing is unregulated as hell. All right, we've one more. We have one more NFT story. One more NFT story. It's the fast one though, Bryce. It's real easy. So Valorant is the competitive shooter from Riot Games, and they have a whole bunch of like Overwatch style characters, and they do that thing that we've seen from other companies where I think this was in some other game that was doing this, where they like take their characters and then they make like a Twitter thing where they show them doing stuff outside of the game, right? To make them seem more, human. So Killjoy,
a little Michaela style type thing, like a little Michaela thing.
That's right. So Killjoy is one of the characters from Valorant, and they had kind of like this slice of life stuff, but one of the things was her at a museum enjoying the works of somebody named Martin Hura, who is mainly makes NFTs to be sold on the blockchain. And apparently when they put this up, it was such a huge backlash from their player base that Valorant literally tweeted out like, like a statement about, they took it down, they tweeted out the since Killjoy loves programming, we wanted to introduce you to computer generated art from around the world. However, we were not aware that the selected work was an NFT. In no way did we intend to include NFTs as part of Killjoy's work and hobbies. So it's just, let it be known that the fictitious lady in the online Counter-Strike ripoff game that Riot Games makes, she's not a fan of NFTs, man. She's not a fan of NFTs, this fictional person. So
okay, I mean, okay, weird.
Yeah. Let's see. Another multiplayer online news. Apparently, there's an internal report saying that EA might be considering moving Battlefield 2042 to free to play after the sales are low. I mean, last week we had the story that Battlefield 2042 apparently online, like the player base for Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 1 are now higher than the player base for Battlefield 2042. And this is also kind of an interesting thing because EA's earnings call is February 1st, and Battlefield 2042 is almost certainly going to be a disappointment because their player base is low. It's still full of bugs. They're still just trying to catch up. I mean, part of this is because they released this subpar, janky, broken mess right before the holidays, and then they went on break, and so they've been playing catch up. But if an online game like this continues to be bad for a while, people are just going to stop playing it, and then maybe they'll come back in 6 months when somebody says, "Oh, it's fixed now." But the thing is that you can't have your player base for a game like this drop too low, because then people can't match in enough matches, and then it becomes like, well, even if I wanted to play it, I can't because there's just not enough people playing it for me to get matched up.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask, do you think that this will make people that if 2042 going free to play would make people upset, make people who had paid for the game upset, but it kind of seems like you can't go lower than where it's at right now, maybe.
It makes me upset. I paid for it. It came out in, it came out, what was it, November? Yeah, November of last year. The idea that from November to February, 3 months in, you're looking to convert to free to play. Man, I don't normally get up in arms about the conversion of something that I paid for 3 years ago going free to play, but 3 months is a little bit, that's different. That's too short of a time to convert. But on the other hand, it's possible that if the sales were really bad, then if they convert it to free to play, then as they fix it, people will have no barrier to entry to go back and try it out. I don't really like Battlefield, but this has seemed like a serious debacle, from top to bottom, the whole release of this thing.
Yeah. I almost wonder if maybe they do just have to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
If it's hey, the 12 of you who play this game still, we'll give you lifetime battle passes or something, but we need to get people in the game, and that's what the people who still want to play this game want. They want, I'm sure, more people to play with as well.
Yeah. We'll give you $60 worth of currency in the store that we're going to implement.
Yeah, we'll give your little soldier a neon. He'll have neon lights under his boots, like a Need for Speed game.
Let's see. We also got the news that DICE will not be making apparently Battlefront 3. This was kind of a strange thing. I don't know if anybody was actually asking for that, as my impression was that Battlefield 1 and Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2 were not super, super, super well received. I liked them, but I liked them because they played Battlefield Baby Edition with a Star Wars skin on it, and I liked having a baby online game that I could just have fun with. But yeah, apparently they're not going to be considering it, and a lot of that comes with the fact that they're trying to fix Battlefield 2042. The other part of it, I believe, is that they have to pay licensing for every time they put out a new Star Wars game, and so if Battlefront 2 didn't sell very well, then there's no reason for them to pay the money to try to make another one, and probably for the best. If their team is working on Battlefield 2042, you don't want them to be putting the B team on the Star Wars license, especially because we also have the Ubisoft and the Quantic Dream game and that phone game. Like, Star Wars is really breaking out into a lot of games at the moment, and that includes 3 games that Respawn is making. So,
that's quite a lot.
Apparently, Respawn is making a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. And then there is an untitled first-person shooter game being worked on by... This is the one that's most interesting to me, being worked on, overseen by game director Peter Hirschman, whose credits include the Star Wars Battlefront games and Star Wars The Force Unleashed. So, like, DICE not making games, but if they're making just like a first-person narrative-based first-person shooter in the Star Wars universe, hey, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then apparently the third game is being co-developed by a studio called Bit Reactor that was formed by former XCOM developers to make a strategy game. And I'm all about them turn-based strategy games. So yeah, like if all 3 of those are on deck, and then like I said, we got Ubisoft, we got Quantic Dream, we got the phone game, there's all kinds of stuff that's going on right now. Oh yeah, and the remake of Knights of the Old Republic is coming out. Like, there's a lot of Star Wars on the horizon, which is good, because for a long time there was jack shit Star Wars games.
And I think this is directly because of the Disney deal, right? I mean, we kind of bemoaned a few years ago that the shuttering of all of these studios that were making Star Wars games and that were Disney game developers, and now that kind of Disney has gotten out of the developing business and more into the let's just sell people the right to make Star Wars games.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you give it to a high volume publisher like Electronic Arts, and you're going to get a lot of Star Wars games again. And hopefully they continue to be, Fallen Order is like a pretty good game. This is good.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Speaking of the number 3, Hitman 3 has been having some trouble on Steam. Was it last week? Hitman 3 came out on Steam, and Steam users started review bombing it because it was a full $60, and they thought that after a year of Epic Game Store exclusive, that it should not be a full $60, that it should have been discounted. And how dare you, sir? How dare you charge me $60 for a full video game with hours of entertainment? I think Hitman 3 is well worth $60, regardless of the fact that it's been out for a year, especially with the stuff that they just announced between the Elusive Target Arcade is already there. The VR, apparently the VR is terrible on the PC, but whatever. I didn't get into Hitman I was reading Steam reviews of people that were just like, I bought this to play the entire game in VR and it doesn't work and I'm mad. And I'm just like, why would you do it that way? Yeah. But they've already outlined that, like, they're going to be putting ray tracing into the PC version. There's going to be that new kind of roguelike mode where you generate contracts and then have to go and kind of do a chain of them. They announced that they're making new levels, like actual levels for the game that's going to be coming out. Bryce, I'm obviously biased. I mean, I love Hitman so much. I know you do too, but like, do you think that $60 after a year of exclusivity on another console is unreasonable?
This is, Jeff, I'm going to look up the day. I'm going to look up the day that I did this. So I saw that IO had tweeted out, oh, here we go. All I saw on Twitter was our recent launch on Steam didn't go as planned. Here's what we're going to do. And they're giving people free upgrades or free DLC things, whatever. Mm-hmm. I thought they were doing that because, like, the game was, like, buggy. I thought there was, like, connectivity issues or live service issues. Oh, my God, we fucked it up, and now you can't connect your Hitman 1 to Hitman 2 or whatever. Mm-hmm. You're telling me that this is because they are charging full price for this game that is 1 year old?
As near as I can tell from reading the Steam reviews, it is mostly that. Some of it is that the VR version on the PC is not the best game of all. It's not the best VR game of all time, and there is a little bit of it that is. Oh no, my brain. Oh no, my brain. There was a third thing. There was a third thing that I saw from them, but it was mostly that. I mean, the thing is that the Epic Game Store hate has never calmed down. Like the Steam users see this as like a huge titanic issue that like I will never install Epic Game Store, and I will. So, but yeah, the result here is that the $60 version is getting upgraded to the $90 version, and I got to be honest, like I love IO, but the add-on bonus stuff for Hitman 3 was kind of garbage.
Awful.
So the $89 was 6 deluxe escalation contracts, which were they were no good.
Who cares?
Suits and other items, digital soundtracks, a digital World of Hitman book, and director commentary. And then if people bought the deluxe edition or the Hitman trilogy, this might be the one that was causing more of a thing. Is if you've never bought Hitman before, they put out a bundle that was all 3 games, and it was $100 for all 3 games, which. But if you have either the deluxe edition or the trilogy, then you'll get upgraded to get the 7 Deadly Sins collection, the worst add-on in all of human history that was boring.
I like that they were trying something different.
Yep.
But it was definitely too soft of a flavor. But
yep.
Yes.
So
this is very stupid, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, this is very stupid.
I agree. Oh, I remember what the third thing is. The third thing was that, like, the day that Hitman came out on Steam, the IO migration servers got overloaded, and so people were like, "I can't transfer my thing 5 minutes after launch. Thumbs down. This is a piece of shit. I will be requesting a refund." And it's like, dude, it's. I
had to wait a fucking week for that shit to work.
Yeah,
like calm down. This is stupid. Part of me does the Hitman Deluxe Edition that the like standard one is getting upgraded to, does that include the levels from Hitman 1 and 2?
I do not believe so. That is the Hitman 3 Deluxe Edition. So it'll be Hitman 3 plus the deluxe escalations and then the other stuff. The thing is that if you already... I think if you already had Hitman 1 and 2, obviously it's going to just port those in directly. But I think on Steam there's a way... It's like essentially DLC...
Right. No. Well, I asked because then suddenly what IO gets out of that is, many more people have access to the original 1 and 2 games and those levels. And so that when they make DLC, they can make fucking more Sapienza maps because everyone's got Sapienza or
right.
At least tactically that's an option, but it does not seem like that's what comes in the deluxe editions.
You know what? Actually, I think that now that I look at it, did they lower the price? Oh no, it's $59 for the standard edition. Right now it's also $59 for the trilogy premium. This is just that DLC. So, okay, yeah, this is that's a different thing. I tell you what,
this is really confusing, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah.
They fucked this up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I like IO Interactive. I like Hitman. The way that you have to buy this stuff, the way this DLC has been put together, is incredibly confusing and difficult. Like, do I need the expansion pass for Hitman 2 to get the bank level in Hitman 3? Like, what? Yeah. All right, let's zip it along. Steam Deck is confirmed February 25th launch. This is basically just the February 25th. It essentially goes on sale if you have the reservation in Steam. It'll be a first come first serve. You're going to get an invitee of 72 hours to order your Steam Deck, and they'll be shipping out. The first shipment's going out on February 28th, and basically it seems like this is just going to be the way. Like, you go onto Steam, you pay $5 to register for a slot, and then you get an email when you've got 3 days to sort that shit out. And if you can't sort it out, then it just goes to the next person on the list. And it's just going on a first come first serve basis. So I actually kind of like this as an idea of just like pre-reserving future offerings. Like, I kind of wish that console manufacturers would do something like this, where it's like you have to put some money up front, so you can't just you have to do in good faith. You have to put $25 into the pot, right? But then your name gets put in a list where it's like the next round that gets manufactured, you get first dibs on that. Now, I guess Valve has the advantage of not having to deal with like Best Buys and GameStops and third-party retailers. But I kind of like this because it seems like the sort of thing where, if you want one of these, you can just put your reservation in and then you just wait. And then eventually you'll get an email and you'll be like, huzzah, today's the day. Like, I can go get it. Yeah.
That's the benefit of having Steam as a platform, is that it's just the button in the program that, millions of folks have. And then it's easier to control that than, like you're saying, dealing with big box retailers, dealing with its reselling and other outside external queue systems.
I wonder, I'm sure there's going to be some amount of scalping on this, but I wonder if this system, if over time we'll see that the system cuts down on the amount of scalping in the Steam Deck because the thing is that at least with the Steam Deck, you can know that you're on the list and your time will come, as opposed to having to do this constant chasing and racing and following Twitter accounts to find restocks of Xboxes at Walmart on Tuesday at 6 a.m. type of thing.
I wonder.
Let's see. We also found out that apparently there's a new version of cloud saving that Valve announced for the Steam Deck. This is going to be called Dynamic Cloud Sync, and it's not going to be on by default. Manufacturers will have to turn it on, but it's basically like, I think right now with Steam, it's like when you open and when you close Steam, it syncs your cloud save, but this is like a continual sync of your save so that you can basically just like, quit the game in on the Steam Deck and then pop open Steam on your PC and just jump right back to where you are, as opposed to having the possibility of quitting but not having the Steam Deck have sunk properly, and so now you've got to like turn it back on and sync my games and stuff, which is good. In time that Steam can be forced to do anything outside of just ring the cash register on fucking Hitler hentai games is a good day for me. So.
This is really interesting because we've had autosave is a prevalent thing now, and so why not make it easier to connect the stuff? Yeah.
It's one of the things I was thinking about when I was thinking about reinstalling my computers. Like back in the old days, I used to have to make sure to back up all my save games before you reinstall, but now everything's in the cloud, so you just I don't care.
Yeah, if they're not on the cloud, then I lost those saves. I don't care.
Let's see. In more handheld news, apparently Majora's Mask is coming to the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. This is one of the few N64 games that could get me to actually sign up for this, because I think Majora's Mask is one of the most interesting N64 games that ever came out. Apparently this is going to be coming out in February. So
very cool.
Mm-hmm. We also got the news that Ocarina of Time has been getting some emulation fixes in that version that's out on the Switch currently. This is actually a really interesting Polygon article that I think everybody should maybe read, called Ocarina of Time Gets Surprise Emulation Fix on the Switch, because as you go back down through it, it kind of talks about like the way that like emulators will have like global settings, but the way that this is set up, it seems like each individual ROM on the Switch Online is coming like prepackaged with its own toggle switches on and off, and so that Nintendo can do a thing like update the settings on a specific game to make it look better. Like the specific thing here was that the water temple room is like the spooky moment in Ocarina of Time where you've got the water and then there's a bunch of mist and you fight Dark Link or something. I don't know. But apparently the water looked like garbage before. The water looks good now. The mist still isn't there. But it's nice to see that Nintendo is at least listening and not just like, fuck it, just put it all on there and they get what they get, right? That they still have some kind of obsession with trying to make sure that the quality within what they can do is of a certain level.
Yeah, and if these are updates to the actual emulation software or emulation cores, what have you, like that benefits Nintendo in the long run, not just this game, but However, many other N64 games are good and can be ported onto the online service.
Yeah, they're really pumping them out because they put on what was like Banjo-Kazooie, and they put out Paper Mario and some other stuff like that. So,
yeah.
Let's see. This is a heartwarming story. I don't know if you read this, but apparently there was so before No Man's Sky, Hello Games had a game called Joe Danger that was like a little kind of a phone game. It was like a little excite bike thing with this little guy. It was on iOS and Android and some other consoles in some places. And apparently some of the newer versions of iOS, it hadn't been updated, and so it wouldn't run on newer versions of iOS. There was a father who had an autistic son who emailed Sean Murray, who basically said like, hey, this is the game that my son loves this game. We play it together. It's like a way to help him. Like if he has that as a reward, he can help him stay calm in situations that are difficult. I can't play it though because the latest iOS, it's not on the current store. And apparently Sean Murray got the people together and they re-released it on the current iOS. Like you can still play it on Android, you can still play it on consoles, but like this young man, the son apparently had a very specific like iPhone that they wanted to use, and so it's just kind of a real heartwarming story.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's really sweet. Yeah, I saw this on a thread. That's really great.
Yeah. Let's see. In other bringing old stuff back news, I didn't know this. There's a game called Cow the Kangaroo that was it was on the Dreamcast, and it was never a big game here, but apparently it was huge in Poland. And so a new company is basically creating kind of like a reboot, reimagining of this game. When you watch the trailer for this game, like it's like this kangaroo with boxing gloves. This whole thing comes off as a real big kind of like Banjo-Kazooie, or not Banjo-Kazooie. To me, it seems a little Crash Bandicoot-y. Like there's a lot of kind of on rails platforming challenges, but then there's some kind of attacks and stuff going on as well. It looks like a pretty cute game. So yeah, there's even parts where you see like running towards the camera, and yeah, who knew? I didn't know.
No, me either. And I've played both the Crash Bandicoot and the Spyro remakes and Crash 4. This looks a lot like those.
It does.
This looks a lot like those games. Like even like Ukulele like kind of looks a little modern. This looks like that Spyro game,
like Toys for Bob stuff.
Yeah, if you told me it was Toys for Bob or Vicarious Visions, even like I'd be like, oh yeah, I see it. I mean, even look at that. That kind of looks like the Crash 4 thing at the end. They're like the image at the very end of this video. The way that there are like prisms and portal things, right at the very very end. Yeah,
this one.
Yeah. Like it looks exactly like it, and like Ratchet and Clank too. That also looks like. Yeah. Fine. Cool. Neat.
Yeah. Coming out good. Summer of this year. Let's see. Crysis 4 is apparently in early development. We got Crytek kind of announced that they are early on in creating Crysis 4. Not really much more to say outside of that. I actually kind of like the Crysis series. I don't know if they hold up quite as well. They had that HD remake that came out, I think it was like last year, that had some problems, and then 2 and 3, but I think it's a fun franchise. I don't know. It's held up better than Far Cry in my opinion, but that's just me.
Cool.
WWE announced last week that WWE 2K is coming back. So WWE 2K22 is actually coming out March 11th of this year. Rey Mysterio is on the cover. Apparently they've gone back and redone a lot of the kind of the graphics. They've brought back the My GM mode, which is a fan favorite where you can kind of you can administer a roster of champions and stuff like that. It seems like they're listening to a lot of the things that players wanted to do, because at this point they really have to. I don't think that they can really survive that many more fuck ups in this franchise.
Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
The gameplay though still just looks like kind of glossy-eyed dolls banging into each other, but I'm not the target audience for this game, so I don't know.
Right. Like, they're not that it doesn't look good, because I can see that the fidelity is very nice on it, but there. Look, man, there's parts of these games where you are a floating camera above a ring, and then there are not parts of those games. And one part of the game you spend a lot more time in than the other.
Yep. Yep. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, if it comes out as a complete shit show, I hope not. Because I think that the last one came out in 2020. Was it 2020? No, it was 2019. This WWE 2K20 came out in 2019. It was garbage. Then during the pandemic, they had their little kind of like arcade mode, Battlegrounds or whatever it was called. So I'm hoping that the team that was working on this has had like 2 or 3 years to work on it, because the big thing was that Ukes bamfed out of 2K and started making Earth Defense Force Iron Rain was the last thing that they put out. And so the team that came in to cover after they left, they weren't able to get it done in time. So speaking of not being able to get it done in time, Rumbleverse, which is the wrestling open world battle royale game from Iron Galaxy that was showed off either at E3 or a Sony thing, I can't remember, was supposed to be coming out this year, but has been kind of indefinitely postponed. They had a beta test that apparently showed them quite a bit. They're going to be having another beta test in February. The trailer for this, when I saw it, it was the Game Awards. It was at the Game Awards when they announced it. Okay. The trailer for this was kind of fun and interesting. This kind of cartoon characters jumping off buildings and hitting each other. The thing is that I went and looked it up, Bryce. Iron Galaxy, they suck. Like, I'm sure they're fine people, right? But like as a game company, they made Dive Kick. People have various feelings about Dive Kick, and they made Killer Instinct. But after that, they made Extinction, which to me is one of the worst games of all time. It was this kind of Shadow of the Colossus style game that I was interested in. And then they made, they've done some porting of some stuff. But I don't know. Like, I don't have a lot of. This is the one that Amazon bought. Like, it was, they were independent. They were making stuff for Microsoft. Then Amazon bought them as a studio to make games specifically to put under Amazon.
No, that's not Iron Galaxy.
It's not? Was it not?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, okay. I thought
I don't believe so. I believe Iron Galaxy is not owned by Amazon.
Really? I thought maybe Double Helix? Oh, Double Helix was the one that made Killer Instinct before, and they were acquired by Amazon, and then Iron Galaxy took over. Sorry, I got it all. Good that you're here, so I don't get yelled out in the comments. Like
I don't know. Some of the people who work at Iron Galaxy are like games personalities, so whatever. But I don't know. I don't interact very much with their games, and I did not see the trailer for this, but I like it on paper. I'm liking a little bit what I'm seeing. The idea of a wrestling based melee battle royale game. That's neat. You can kind of do some fun stuff with that. It kind of looks like Fortnite.
Yep. It reminds me a lot of that Dodgeball Arena game that EA put out that was kind of similar, where it was like a crazy online dodgeball thing in a weird fancy city. But let's see. Dark Souls PvP servers are offline. Apparently there's an exploit. This was Dark Souls Remastered, Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 2. This came from the Grim Sleeper, who was a Twitch streamer who was streaming, who found out that when a person would join their game, that was literally knocking them offline. Then at some point, like, they started executing like text to speech on their computer to insult them, and then at one point, like, a PowerShell prompt came up with commands starting to get input. So they took it down because it's possible that people might actually be able to use an exploit in the netcode to like inject malicious code directly onto your computer. Which, considering that Elden Ring comes out at the end of the month, is a thing you want to get fixed right now. You don't want to have to do this when Elden Ring launches. So,
Yeah, this is a very serious concern. This is the type of of hack that could you would never see it coming. You could not protect against it, and it could completely destroy your computer if in the wrong hands. So good on them for taking it down very quickly and responding to it. Hopefully they figure it out. I'm surprised to hear that these games that have had online via PC for so long, only now are they finding such a huge vulnerability like this.
Yeah.
Hopefully they get it fixed pronto.
Yep. All right. Let's move into trailers as we go full speed towards the end of this. We got another trailer for Pal World, which I remember seeing the trailer for this at E3, the first trailer for this, and it's amazing, and I love it because it's just like a huge Pokemon ripoff, except that everybody's got machine guns, including the Pokemon. And so during E3, they showed a trailer for this, and it was all very like, oh, it's a Pokemon ripoff, until they got to the point where there was a montage of a bunch of like Pikachu-looking rabbit motherfuckers, like sadly chained to an assembly line, churning out assault rifles, and everybody was like, whoa, hold on, what the fuck is going on here? They put out a second trailer, and a lot of it is the kind of magical Pokemon ripoff that you would expect, except with some guns. And then at a certain point, it gets real fucking dark and goes to like this underground lab with a bunch of Pokemon strapped to a table and like the whole assembly line making machine guns thing. And I think that this is just this developer that wants to essentially make a Pokemon clone, but then also include some kind of like dark and gritty stuff the way that Nintendo would never in a million years allow in a Pokemon game. I don't know. Had you run into Power World before this, Bryce?
I hadn't, and so I was confused by this video because this video wants you to think that it's Pokemon with guns, which is incorrect, Jeff. If I could give my expert analysis on what this game is. This is Factorio with Pokemon.
Okay, that makes sense.
At first, I didn't even think it was a real game. At first, I thought that this was just a hoax. But I think this is just going to be Factorio or something of that kin with like powers and technology, but some of it is are these monsters. Because you read up on some of it, and it's like, yeah, you could abuse your monsters. They don't like really matter. Like they're so flip about it that you're just like, I think that they are just a replacement for like drones and research technology to some degree in a Factorio style game. But yeah, to me, this is going to be more of a Rust type game than a Pokemon Coliseum game.
Okay. It's funny because
fucking Apex shooting.
I really have to appreciate though that whoever they got to design these ripoff Pokemon did a great job. Like they look
good.
A lot like your standard Pokemon, just like off-brand Target brand Pokemon. Yeah, I don't know. I'm totally gonna play this. I mean, I bet it's gonna be garbage, but it's probably gonna be interesting garbage. I'm interested. I'll see what goes on. We also got some videos on the PlayStation blog, not on their YouTube channel or anything, but of Horizon Forbidden West running on the PlayStation 4, PS4 Pro. And boy, it looks really, really good on the PS4 Pro. Like it looks really, 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 really good on the PS5. But if this game came out on the PS5 and looked like this, and I had never seen it any other way but what they're showing here, I would be satisfied with this game. Like, the art design and the lighting tech and the hair stuff, like it looks good regardless of which console essentially you're playing on. I don't know. I think this is nothing but good for people who haven't gotten a chance to get a PS5 yet, because it looks like, some of the next gen stuff when you play it on the previous gens, I mean, like Cyberpunk and stuff like that, it really grinds to a halt because it was really kind of made for the newer gen stuff. But this just seems like it runs beautifully across the board.
And you look how like the original Horizon or something like Ghost of Tsushima ran, like I have a base PS4, and both those games run very, very well on it, right? Like it was a story when Ghost of Tsushima came out for PS4, that like they had to slow down the loading of the game, because it would load too fast, and now I'm sure with the new hard drives that they're able to take advantage of that even more, so there's lower loading times, but these were already good engines and engines that these developers had a good grip on.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks fantastic. We also got a launch trailer for the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection, which is coming on the PS5, or came out on the PS5 on Friday. This is Uncharted 4 and then Uncharted The Lost Legacy, the Chloe and what's her face spin-off game that were both PS4 games. They've been up-resed and they've got a little bit of work done on them, but not a lot, because this is kind of one of those, like, these were already pushing the upper end of what the PlayStation 4 could do, and so you can make them look better, a little sharper, a little faster, a little bit better lighting and stuff like that. But in a lot of ways, there's probably not unless you wanted to like spend some real time, going in and really crunching down on the stuff that you could do. There's probably a limit as to how much better you could make these games look without redesigning them from the ground up. I just am not interested in going back and playing. I mean, PS4, the Uncharted 4 was so long, and The Lost Legacy was good, but it was also kind of long. I really look at the Uncharted games like a movie where it's like I play it once and then I don't ever go back and replay them, because to me they're very cinematic, but like the actual gameplay of them is kind of basic to the point where like I don't need to go back and the joy is playing them the first time. I don't really ever feel the need to go back and play them again. I don't know. Have you replayed any of the Uncharted games?
I mean, I think I've only tried to play a handful of them, and I've never spent a lot of time with any of them. So, but I'm kind of with you. Like that's how I was with like The Last of Us, the first one. I haven't even played the second one. Like I don't really have a lot of headspace for a cinematic type game like this right now. So,
right.
It usually just doesn't even come across my radar. But when I do play it, I definitely don't go back and play it again.
Yeah. I don't know if this ever comes to PS Plus or whatever. Like, I think Uncharted 4 is entirely too long, and I think that it treads a lot of the stuff from Uncharted 3. It retreads a lot of the young Nathan Drake stuff that happened in Uncharted 3. Like, they bring in his brother out of nowhere, and he becomes a big part of the storyline. But the spin-off where it was the love interest from Uncharted 2, and then there's what's her face, God, this lady was like a mercenary in Uncharted 3, and they kind of put together this like shorter, briefer little spin-off thing with the two of them. That was great because it was what I wanted. It was like a shorter experience, had the same bombast, but just less like, now we got to go to this place, now I got to go to this place, now I got to go to this other place, now you got to spend 10 minutes hitting up in the jump button to mantle along walls. So I recommend the spin-off, but not the Uncharted 4 just didn't work for me. So I don't know, some of these I would assume that we had more time but like Sea of Thieves is getting a new expansion called Shrouded Islands that these all seem to be way more cinematic than original Sea of Thieves was. I tried playing the Pirates of the Caribbean one and I didn't get very far in it, but it's interesting to me that we're like 4 years into Sea of Thieves, 5 years into Sea of Thieves. Like it's been out for quite a while, and that we're still kind of getting more content. I don't know. Another part of me wishes that they would just let Rare make something else that wasn't this.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got another Stranger of Paradise trailer. That game's coming out in not too long. I think.
This actually, like, I don't know. I was interested to actually see this in motion because I feel like I had not seen the full like pitch on what Stranger of Paradise is supposed to be. But I get it. It's a Soulsy type of game.
Yeah, it's weird to me. I played the demo because they had a couple of different demos for it. So I played the demo and I liked what I played. because since Ninja Theory is doing it. Like Neo 2 was great. I loved Neo 2. I thought Neo 2 was like head and shoulders way above Neo 1, and in some cases maybe even better for me than like some of the Souls games that I played. But the weird thing about this is that it takes place in the original Final Fantasy 1 universe, but it's like the art style is so dark. Everything is black. Everybody's wearing black. All of the lights are low. Even when you're out in a daytime environment, there's like these really harsh shadows on everything. Everything's like silver and monochrome. I wish it was a little bit, the color palette is kind of unappealing to me. Even though the game that I played was pretty good, it's just very, very dark.
I mean, it's a dark fantasy. It's a dark. I mean, this is the genre, right? This is what these games are gonna be. But I agree. Like, I don't like the look of it much either. I mean, it's none of it is checking any box for me. But yeah, it's a very specific look that they're looking for. But I bet there are people who it's for.
Yeah. I don't know. It's also really weird to just take the first Final Fantasy and then turn it into this like super dark, edgy black shirt, shave head bro guy thing, and it's like you turn Final Fantasy 1 into Dark Souls. Like pick a different one. I don't know.
It's kind of the Phantom Painy, right? Like no one was asking for this. No one. I don't want a Final Fantasy universe. I don't want one. Just don't give me one.
Well, we'll find out. Apparently, it's March 18th, so not that long. A couple months left, and then we'll see. I don't know. We got a cinematic trailer for Sniper Elite 5. I'm super excited for Sniper Elite 5. I love the Sniper Elite games. The most interesting thing I thought about this trailer was kind of towards the end where the main character, the butt sniper, was getting ready to blast some Nazis, and there was like a Nazi sniper that was aiming at him, like a counter sniper, which is kind of interesting because these games have mostly been like stealth based and kind of adventure games. But I don't know. I like all of the Sniper Elite games. They found their thing with the like X-ray bullet going into somebody's eyeball in slow motion, and I'm like a child. I never get tired of it. Every time I play one of those games and it happens, I giggle, and I'm like, yeah, I love it. More gore. So
yeah.
Let's see. We got a couple of new like I don't play Apex Legends, but we got this kind of these story trailer and then kind of like a gameplay introduction for this new character. Apparently they're changing the map. This is Mad Maggie. I played Titanfall 2, but apparently they've really expanded like she's this like freedom fighter jacking shipments of food and medicine for the poor people of the outer worlds or something, and she's on trial and they sentence her to the games. There's like this mysterious man in glasses, like this kind of evil Bellic guy or something. I don't know. I don't ever want to play Apex Legends, but I always appreciate that these companies now are putting out these very very fun to watch like lore videos that kind of are just introductions, but they're just little like short films that you can watch. I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely an interesting economy of storytelling in these like shooter service games. You know, like how do you tell a story when it's a hero-based game and you're not playing it in the same narrative way? Like I like that things like Apex and even like Fortnite are kind of experimenting with what that means.
Yeah. Let's see. We got a brief trailer. I need to figure out whether I'm going to play this or not for Dread Hunger. It's funny because did you watch this trailer, Bryce? Did you get a chance to watch this one?
No, I did not watch this one.
Okay, so this is a really strange concept. It's like a what would you call this? Like a old timey, like 1800s. It's like a steamship in the Arctic, and it's a multiplayer game where you've got a bunch of people on a server, and you're trying to survive, kind of like, I don't know, Rust, Minecraft style, where it's like you're in this environment and you're trying to fend off like wolves, and you're trying to like build fires, you're trying to get across, you're trying to get the resources to essentially get your boat to run, and you're trying to work together with your team. But one person on your team is an imposter that is trying to sabotage this effort. So there's one person that's kind of like a the Thing type of thing, that is trying to undermine the efforts of the other people. And so apparently, it's basically like Among Us, but it's also this kind of like third person or first person kind of action, game with this kind of interesting style to it. It was an interesting concept. And apparently, like, it's gotten really good reviews on Steam and stuff. So I don't know.
Okay. Interesting.
Hard to say. Yep. And then last we got a little bit of concept footage of Boba Fett from Star Wars 1313 running people down. His website kind of, this is like, you can't keep artists and people from putting stuff on their demo reel from a game that never came out, and that's what I get the impression of what was going on here. Yeah. It's been so long since I've seen Star Wars 1313, but it's very Uncharted what's going on in this chase.
What I like is that this level is definitely half finished. Like, it started off with details, and now it's all like unshaded.
Yeah. Just big polygons.
Blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is kind of cool. I couldn't get a sense. Did you get a sense of when, like, what platform this would have been aimed for? Would this have been a PlayStation 3 affair?
I thought it was going to be a PS4, Xbox One title from the original. I don't know. I mean, I guess let's see.
Yeah, because then that looks even earlier, with how things like Fallen Order have looked for the PlayStation 4, which was really great.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even realize this, because the original trailer did not have Boba Fett in it, but apparently it's like you were going to start the game as an unidentified bounty hunter, and then at some point early on in the game, Boba Fett kills that character, and then you take over as Boba Fett. That's a really cool idea for a video game.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find out. What was the platform? Yeah, PS4, Xbox One. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So relatively recent. For whatever reason, I think just because watching this blocky kind of unfinished version, I couldn't get a sense of like, because the HUD looks like very PS2 almost, right? With the blue teal look. So I wasn't sure, but neat. That's neat.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that this never got off the ground, because it seemed like I mean I kind of liked the idea. It would have been really great for them if they could have had a game that hyped up Boba Fett years before The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett and all that stuff. So, yeah. Let's see. Another Star Wars news: Skywalker Saga, which is this big 9-game Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga thing, is going to be coming out in April. It's funny, I didn't understand why until I watched this trailer that was here, where like they've redone all of the games. They've put in a bunch of new mechanics. Apparently they've redone the whole melee system. They've added like when you shoot your gun, it like zooms up behind you to make it a little bit closer to the character. There's like a cover system now. It's just, it seems like a really good version of these games. Apparently also, though, they've been crunching this team like to hell and back to get this done, because if I'm not mistaken, this was announced like 3 years ago or something like that. Like it's been in the works for a while now. And the Lego Star Wars, everything but the Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker, those games already existed. So but it looks like they've done a lot of work on them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there must have been a lot of work to just bring all of them up to the same code base, right? Some of those games are recent, some of them are not so recent, and I'm sure their standards and the way that they've used those engines have changed a lot over the years. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yep. It looks like a really good game. I just don't like Lego games. I I don't want to play little Lego guys. So let's see. Death Stranding Director's Cut is coming to the PC on March 30th. It's already out on the PC. The regular version, I believe, is already out on the PC, but you can upgrade to the Director's Cut for $10.
The PC version wasn't already the Director's Cut?
No.
This confused me. I thought that was the whole thing with the PC version, but yeah, this is weird.
No, the PC version, I believe at launch it had integration for Cyberpunk 2077. And then that was when it was Epic Games exclusive. And then when it came to the PC, they added a bunch of quests that were like Half-Life tie-in things that are in the Director's Cut. And then the Director's Cut was for the PS5 launch. And so now it's getting added into the PC releases. So I mean, I'll be honest with you, like there's no reason to go back and play it. I did go back and play all the way through the game, but it was because I just started playing Death Stranding, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm just going to play all of this because I really like the game."
It's a good game.
But the Director's Cut, like quests, the actual story quest is one quest. It's not that much. Now there's a whole bunch of like the racing track, and there's like some new stuff that you can build, and there's some different there's a whole hacking subsystem that was brought in with the Cyberpunk thing that was added into the game. There's a lot more. There's some interesting stuff that happens on the PC version that is then integrated into the Director's Cut, but I don't think there's any reason. I mean, if you had this and you already played it on the PC and you were interested, you spend your $10, you go do that one quest. Know that you're getting like one quest and some slight bonus content, but you're not getting like a whole huge expansion. So, 2 Point Campus has a release date in May, and it's coming to Game Pass on day one, which is cool because 2 Point Hospital is rad.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Hogwarts Legacy and Gotham Knights apparently will be coming out this year still, according to a tweet from Jason Kilar, the CEO of Warner Media. They put out a tweet saying that they're going to be delivering a bunch of stuff, and part of that was the Hogwarts Legacy and Gotham Knights kind of little splash screens. I have no idea whether either one of those games is going to be any good. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I would say I don't know. This is a weird news story because it's like, yeah, I guess your games should be on track for the days you said that they would be.
Yeah,
right, you should. This is just you're okay. All right.
I thought Justice League Kills the Suicide Squad was that Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. It's the other way around there. I thought that got a release date too. Wasn't that this year? Because there was a Game Awards trailer that said 2022. So I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's wrap it up with a few quick fun ones. Resident Evil 4 is getting a fan-made HD project. This is actually just somebody that went back and did an awful lot of independent work for 8 years to get this version of Resident Evil 4 out compatible with the Steam version. It looks like a really good, really sharp remaster of RE4. If you never played RE4, what's the matter with you? Go play RE4.
Yeah, this is really cool. They talk in the article about like when Capcom was making the game, they went to where did they go? To Spain and to these different locations to get photos and assets and things.
Right.
And so the people who made this mod also like went to those places to get updated assets and higher resolution things. Like the amount of work put into this is really inspiring.
Yeah. And Capcom does not tend to go after these folks the way that Nintendo does with, or even Konami for that matter. So, yeah.
I guess for a mod, is it better because it's a mod and not a fan game.
I don't know. I cut it earlier, but there was that story where somebody made a game where you just shoot Pokemon with a machine gun, and like Nintendo not only took it down but started DMCAing any video that showed footage of it as well. So I don't know. I mean, having a company that doesn't immediately lock everything down, maybe it's because it's a mod, but yeah. Let's see. I really like this. I don't know if you watched this, Bryce, but this is a Twitch streamer that was playing a Mario Odyssey speed run. I gotta make sure that I put this person's name in here. Doug, is that the name? Yeah, Doug. And basically, like, the idea was that he was going to speedrun Mario Odyssey, but every 5 minutes he was going to spin a wheel and then like take the HUD from whatever game came up off of the wheel spin, cut it out in Photoshop, and in OBS put it over the Mario UI. And so every 5 minutes, he ends up putting another chunk of HUD over the top of the game until it's almost unable to complete. By the time you get to the end, it's like he's got a very small space in the middle that's got like some transparent maps that he can kind of see through. It's a very entertaining video, and it's only like 20 minutes long. The first one was RuneScape, and that sucked because it like had the big inventory on the right hand of the screen.
Yeah, this is fun, and it's only like his speedrun is like 2 hours, which is still crazy for, you know, Mario Odyssey. But he's got a good yeah, you're right. Like the video is good because it's not the full thing. It's like chopped up, and you don't watch the whole process, thankfully.
Yeah, he just picked like the best 17 minutes out of 2 hours. And it's a good 17 minutes. So, let's see. People are mad about that Hitler sex game because he has both testicles, apparently, which is not historically accurate in your hentai Hitler sex game. People keep asking me
Are we already past the like? Why is there a sex game with Hitler to begin with? Like we're skipping past the thing. Okay, it's a little elephant.
I mean, like I look at Steam every week, so I see every game that comes out. This is not. There was a game called Sex with Stalin that came out like 2 years ago, but apparently that's more of a like. That's more. Oh, maybe is it not on Steam? Oh, I can't see it because I have to be like logged in. But yeah, Steam. What was it like 2 years ago where Steam wouldn't put Super Seducer 3 on Steam because there were like ladies in lingerie hanging around, and then like you go to the front page of Steam and there's just like cartoon Hitler has sex with anime girls, like full hardcore sex in between playing a kind of bad top-down shooter game. And it's like, yes, this is what happens when you could just do whatever. This is what no regulation looks like. It's fucking sex with Hitler.
The art, dear listener, the art is not particularly good either.
It's terrible. I've seen a lot of sex. You know what? There's a game that I've got on the horizon that everybody should look up, and it's I'm going to be playing it at some point.
God, I want to know. God, I am fascinated with what the next word you're going to say is.
Okay, what is it? It's called like, let me see if I can find it here on Steam. I know I really want to play it because it's like, it's one of these dating games, but it's not, it's called like, oh God, I bought it. What is it called? Is it in my library? I think I uninstalled it. Yep, uninstalled it. It's called my Sucker for Love. And
okay.
You guys are just going to have to. So it is a dating game with a very specific aesthetic. An Eldritch Cthulhu lady face, but with giant anime boobs. Also, it appears that like Haster, the King in Yellow, is in here as another person that you can date. But like, you know, unlike Sex with Hitler, I think this is like a fun game, not a like jerking off to Hitler game. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's jerking off to Hitler? No, wait. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
This is the question. The Sucker for Love is like on the same level as How to Fool Boyfriend, right? Like,
right.
It's a dating game, visual novel game, but it's not sexual. The Hitler game is sexual.
Yes, it is. Watching weird Flash animation versions of Hitler having sex with people.
Okay.
And last but not least, I couldn't leave without one more NFT story. Apparently, there's a guy on the internet who is basically using the Game Boy Advance printer to print out a bunch of NFTs that were uploaded to his Game Boy. This is from Twitter user Derek Must Die. As part of this comedy group, and yeah, funge those tokens, Derek. Funge them, funge the shit out of them.
His printer needs more ink. His printer looks like it's not the best Game Boy printer out there on the market today.
Yeah, apparently I looked at when I read the story, apparently the problem is that like the Game Boy printer uses like the thermal paper, like thermal receipt paper, and they bought like a case of it, and only like some of it actually still worked because it was so old, and nobody uses that type of paper anymore. But yeah, that's it.
Fun.
That's a podcast. We did it. We checked all the boxes, Bryce. We talked about Activision. We talked about NFTs. We talked about horrible Steam games. Just everything. Before we sign off, do you want to tell the good people where they can find you online?
Sure, you can follow me on Twitter at Brycas, BRYCAS, and check me out soon. We're gonna have another season of Marvel starting up probably sometime in February, so stay tuned for that.
Cool beans. And do you already know where to find Rage Select because you're listening to this? If you weren't listening, I don't know how you'd be listening to this and not know where to find Rage Select. So, all right, see you later, everybody.